This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series.
On this podcast, we empower men to take control of their dating by teaching a complete understanding of how to create meaningful and passionate relationships that they desire. We're known for leaving men feeling confident in who they are and showing up in a way that's naturally attractive.
Naturally attractive.
Yeah, it's all about, really being in touch with who you really are and expressing that in the world, right?
It's like we recorded an episode with someone called Amy from Temple of the Feminine, which will come out in a few weeks. And she talks from a woman's point of view. She said the most attractive thing that she's felt with her clients, is what they want in men, is a man who's just authentically being himself and communicating that. And that is what a woman's desire.
And what's convenient is exactly what we teach.
Yeah. Amazing. So this episode here was with a man that we have a deep amount of kind of gratitude towards from so many levels, because he's been like a mentor, a coach, and just like an all-round amazing guy to us, William Whitecloud. So he's one of the people who, even when we first started our podcast, we had a list of like big names he wanted to have on our podcast. And he was one of them. And it feels amazing to sit down and record the episode with him and go through the issue, which is huge. We found in men, again, for our research, was overthinking.
Yeah. And William was the great guy to come and talk about this, because he's a creative coach, so to speak.
Like a transformational creative coach.
Yeah, that's right. And he's actually a published author. He's even, I think, been involved in some movie making.
Yeah.
He's always traveling around the world. He runs amazing retreats. It's mostly in Africa.
Yeah.
But all over the world, where he educates people in the sort of creative principles. And these are real things, like in terms of actions and structures that you can use in your life to create your dream, so to speak. So it was really cool to bring him in and talk about overthinking, because it's such a big problem for men. Is we get so stuck in our head. And I know that the classic scene, like to give it like a small piece, is like when a man's in a bar, or even for myself, when I used to go out and talk to women this way, it's like you see a woman and then you have an idea to say something, and then immediately just like disregard the idea and think, okay, what's another idea? And then it's almost like a roulette thing in just going round and round and round. And then there's no right idea.
Yeah.
And we really go into like what all of this is about. William gives his definition and then explains what men can do to overcome this overthinking, this where we just get stuck.
Yeah, like stuck in your head thinking about what the perfect thing to do is and not taking any action. And William is, perfect guy to go through this. Like he's taught thousands of people how to really make a difference in their life. And he mainly coaches people around, firstly, like making more money, and secondly, getting the relationships they want in their life. So it's going to be a great episode. And I know that because I've heard it.
You were there.
So yeah, I think it's a good time to jump into the episode and enjoy.
So, hey, William, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Ahmad. Hey, David. Nice to be with you guys virtually. Maybe I'll see you in a week or so in London.
Yeah. It's been a while.
If you're not social distancing.
That's why we're doing it on Zencaster.
Yeah. William's only next door.
Yeah. So the first thing, the first thing I want to say is that a lot of people probably don't know, but David and I have actually done a lot of work with William. He's been a long time friend and mentor in the creative pursuits. And I just wanted to say, for people who don't know who you are, William, could you just tell a bit about who you are?
Who I am? Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, it depends which who I am you're talking about, right? But that's I think
the one that people mostly know you for.
Ask my kids; they'll tell you something else. And ask my mum. But I mean, in terms of what you talking about, well, I'm a creative development trainer. I've been interested in and studying and practicing and teaching creative development for the last 25 years, and writing books on it, and so that's what I am in terms of what my gig is, basically. Yeah.
And yeah, you also been quite modest, William. You've got three very well sold books, if I remember correctly.
I didn't know say I'm an author that I write, and
Humble man.
no, I mean that's what I do. That's my passion. That's my interest. That's my livelihood. Um, and but basically, I mean, um, people, when I say I'm a creative development trainer, they go, well, what does that mean? And as far as I'm concerned, what that means is that um, your level of creativity determines how naturally successful you are in life or at whatever you undertake, and if you look at it academically, although academia is really kind of catching up on this, and there are a lot of creativity faculties and creativity professors, especially that I know of in America now, and it's not yet a real like standardized thing, but broadly, they delineate levels of creativity as something like this, where you have unskilled imitation, skilled imitation, low level derivative, high level derivative, innovative, inventive, and genius, you see. And then if you look at it, it's very self-evident and observable, although if you want, it's provable as well, right? Is that the higher you are on that scale, the closer you are to genius, then, just the more successful you are, the more creative you are, and thereby the more successful you are. The barista at Starbucks, who is doing kind of I don't even know if you'd call it a skilled imitation level, where they're making cappuccinos, which I hugely appreciate. Don't get me wrong, but their level of contribution, creativity, other than the cups of coffee they give us, is very low, and the income they earn from that is very low. But the guy that invented Starbucks is a very genius person who makes a lot of money, and does a lot of good in the world. Actually, this guy, amazing the good that he does. I mean. I've forgotten what state it was in America. They wanted to kind of like bring in something very discriminatory against gays, and this guy said, "Okay, we're going to pull Starbucks out of your state. See you later." And that they backed off from making that law, and so the higher your level of creativity, yeah, the more you're engaged in life. You're rewarded by life. You're fulfilled in life, and so that's what I do. I support people in raising their level of creativity, because it's not fixed. It's entirely learnable, which is what you guys have learned from me. You know that. And just the key thing. I don't want to hog all the time here, but it's just the key thing to say about the levels of creativity. If you go up that scale from the imitations and the derivatives up to the innovative, up to the genius, the higher you go up that scale, you just realize, well, what what's very obvious about that, if you just look at it, and what stands out, what's just most obvious, is the higher that you go up on that scale of creativity, the more self-referenced you are, and even there's even a dictionary definition that says a genius is someone who doesn't have to be taught what they practice. You know what I mean? So the more self-referenced you are, if you do it in a skilled way, then the more creative you're going to be. And if you look right now at what's going on in the world, and all the hysteria and everything, you can see that people are entirely, mostly the vast majority of people, even my dear friends and family and that, you can just see they totally outwardly reference. There's no inner reference whatsoever. They're just scanning what's outside of them, the opinions of others, the media, getting, all this information from outside of themselves. And it's a very, very, very unproductive, because when you do that, actually, the thing is that when you do that and you're externally referenced, and you're seeking to understand what's going on, you actually don't know it, but actually your biases are brought to bear, your conditioning are brought to bear, and what you'll find out there is confirmation of whatever you hear, whatever you believe, and then that's going to inform your decisions and your behavior and all of that, right? Whereas when you internally referenced, you actually divorce yourself from your biases and your conditioning and all that, and that's what creativity is about. Creativity, by definition, is the ability to realize and make connections between things that aren't normally made, like inspired, you see, and then your behavior is inspired, your decisions are inspired, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, magically, you actually covered something which was the first point, which is about overthinking and worrying. And I think you said, like, a lot of what you said there is actually what happens when guys tend to overthink. So the topic of today's episode is about overthinking and men who really struggle to take action. And what I love about what you just said there was all about what it is to actually be a high level action taker, let's say, because the
Yeah.
word creative gets banded about so often.
Yeah.
And people often go, oh, I'm a creative, but then they're thinking, they're not actually doing. And there's definitely the word you use there, inspired, reminds me of something I used to say to David when we used to go out in the clubs and we used to talk to girls, and it'd be like, if there was a girl that I was attracted to, I would say I'm inspired, not just because I'm attracted to her, but actually the sight of seeing someone attractive would literally inspire in me something that I would want to say to them, and like something original that from within me that came. So yeah, you had no idea, but you literally just covered the first point. Well done, William.
I'm a genius. What can I say?
That's why I was like, yeah, let him talk. He's on a roll.
Look,
do
you want me to cover the other points while I'm at it?
I thought maybe me and Dave could just go have a coffee or something, just to come back and William will be done. Dave. So you had a question about a thing?
Huh? What?
Yeah, so when we're talking about like this overthinking, is like what you see a lot with men is they're really struggling to just take any action because they're just so fixated in their minds and thinking and thinking and thinking. And I thought what would be good to kind of cover to start with is like what that looks like for people. The overthinking. What are the kind of signs that in your life you're overthinking your dating or overthinking other things in your life?
What are the signs that you're overthinking? I don't know. I don't think about things a lot, right? So,
Hello.
can you hear me? You guys got me? Hello?
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah.
I thought we'd lost each other.
Oh, no.
Now we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's an interesting thing about thinking and not taking action. You see, the thing is that whenever we have any end result in mind, whenever we decide we want something and we want to go for something, whether it's sometimes that's self-conscious and sometimes it's even unconscious, right? But whenever we want something, we want to go for something, we engage our ego, which is I'm calling the part of ourselves, the rational mind, the part of the mind that is responsible for our orientation. And that part of our mind wants to understand, how we positioned in relation, because that's what orientation is. So it wants to understand how we positioned in relation to what we want, you see. And so rather than looking at the relevance of our situation, like just the sort of kind of basic facts of it, like say I want to go down to the shop to stock up on ice cream, and that would involve me knowing I'm at home, and it would involve me knowing where the supermarket is, and it would involve me knowing how much roughly ice cream costs and how much I've got in my pocket and money I've got in my pocket, and getting in my car and going down there. That's what I call the relevance, you see. But the ego doesn't look at that actually. What it looks at in terms of how we positioned in relation to what we want. It looks at our beliefs, our beliefs about ourselves, others in the world, and like actually comes up, what I was saying before, with our conditioning, with our biases, with our beliefs. And it looks at how we, the degree to which we're incomplete in relation to that, as it sees it, whether we worthy enough, or whether we belong enough, or whether we're intelligent enough, or just whatever it is. And it comes up with something, I'm just going to put this simplistically. It comes up with something wrong with us or others or the world, and it says this condition exists. We're positioned in a way where there's something that exists that doesn't support us going for what we want, right? And you see, that's where that's going to trigger the overthinking, because it's an unconscious mechanism. The thinking is an unconscious method to try and resolve that issue, make it go away, right? But the problem is that the more you think about it, the more you're trying to understand it and resolve it, the more the ego is digging into its conditioning, its biases, its beliefs, all of that. So actually, the more problem it sees, so the more resolving it's got to do. You see, so it's like a vicious cycle. It's a vicious spiral. Um, and uh, if that's where your energy is going, right, it's not going into the action, because the unconscious assumption is I'm not ready for it, and that's any lack of action. I mean, this is my business. I train people, I coach people, and a lot of it's about taking action, and about taking functional action. And whenever anyone's oscillating, or they're stuck, this is what they're going on. They're unconsciously getting ready to go for what they want, rather than go for what they want, and be able to just look at, well, functionally, what does this take, right? What's the relevance of the situation? What's the real reality of the situation? And what does it, just functionally really take? And then just do that. So there's, this the problem in all of this is the idea of and it's a self-indulgence, it's a self-involvement, and that's the problem. People become involved in themselves, and it's not your real self anyway. It's a made up idea of who you are. It doesn't even exist. um, it's kind of like an idea you formed of yourself when you were 2 or 3 or 4 or something. It has no relevance to now. But I don't know if I'm making sense here. But that, like that's what it's about.
No, it's total sense. And I guess from the point of view of like people's dating lives, it turns up in like people becoming fixated on like their looks or the amount of money they have before they can find the right partner, or them, sorting out things that are really nothing to do with going for the love they're looking for in their life, or just going out on dates.
Yeah, that's right. And you see, I mean, you see that's something, well, it's what we're talking about here, but also I think in terms of that, you see, it's you know, getting hung up about dating, right? Is that you know, it's like what when we go for things. Also, another thing that our ego does, and that rational part of our brain, what it does, it looks at the things that could happen that could be bad for us, you see, in anything we do. So just like, say, dating, you go, well, one of the things that can happen in dating, I think that's very obvious, is you might not appeal to the other person, which would lead to rejection, you see. So
Yeah.
so you go, well, the rational mind goes, well, we want to avoid rejection, and that mustn't happen, you see. And there's something that's formed in your mind that you most probably don't even know is the something that mustn't happen. And so it's the same thing, you see. Then the mind spends its energy trying to resolve that, work out how can we make that not happen, and then you go into like, what would be the conditions that would allow that you'd be better looking, that you'd have more money, um,
There's one that we hear very often is where guys say, "We'd love it if the woman came over to us."
yeah. Oh, that would be nice, huh? Well, because I mean, then that would be nice, because then that that precludes the act of vulnerability, right? Of taking the action and avoiding what could happen, right? And
Yeah.
so you see the whole thing, and this doesn't apply to dating. I mean, this is about your power in life, and anything you go to, there's always something that you're afraid can happen and that you don't want to happen. You spend energy trying to resolve that. But you see, the problem is that when you do that, when something's not allowed to happen, right? Um, you lose creativity, and I'll explain what I mean. Is you see, when something can't happen, then your mind, your rational mind takes over. Your ego takes over and goes, okay, so this can't happen. So we've got to take control and lock this down. You see, and um, control how it happens. We've got to, we've got to control the situation, the circumstances. We have to control ourselves. We've got to control our behavior. We've got to control the whole process so that that doesn't happen, right? And when that happens, though, you see, you lock up, you freeze up, and you actually become internally stuck, and then you lose your relevance and inspiration to the to the actual moment, to the actual person that you'd interact with your own instinctive self, your own natural ability, and that you would normally flow with, you see, and find, like, find the right words and the right compliment and the laugh, that the thing that would make you laugh naturally. You lose your whole naturalness, which is what is going to work for you, and instead then just become stuck, right?
Yeah.
Stuck in your head.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I resonate heavily with, because I definitely was that guy. And it's not just like in my mind when I'm thinking about overthinking, I'm like, okay, we're talking about like right where there's a man and there's a woman that's in front of him. He's at a bar, and now he's trying to think of what to say.
Yeah.
But actually, it's everything. It's the whole gamut, like how I'm gonna date, who I'm gonna date, when is it gonna happen, and often, especially I think for our ideal sort of listener, the people that listen to us most, of the men who are like, you know, a bit older now, they're 25 to 45 and older, and perhaps they're thinking of settling down. And there's all of the stuff that can't happen. There's all of the things that I can't lose money. I can't get into a relationship that's going to lead me to financial ruin.
I can't lose time with the wrong person.
Yeah.
Can't make the wrong choice.
Can't make the wrong choice. It becomes this obsession with, and their focus just goes to what can't happen.
Yeah.
Instead of allowing for what they'd actually want.
Yeah, that's right. And you see, then there's the overthinking and the inaction. And if you want to avoid inaction and overthinking, you know, like it, and you know, this is not navel gazing. It's just very simple, easy stuff. If and I'm not just talking about dating. I guess that's your context, but in any context, overthinking and inaction is because really, I mean, we've hit on the most, you know, simplistic, precise point here, which is something mustn't happen, right? And if you want to stop overthinking, and if you want to start taking action, you have to have some self-awareness. I'm sorry, you know, and as I said, it's not navel gazing, but you do need some self-awareness. It doesn't take much. Is, you know, like what's the worst that can happen here? Whatever it is, right? I could lose time, I could lose money, I could be knocked back, whatever it is. It's like you're going to go so far if you're able to identify what's coming up for you, and you go, well, that's a possibility. Yeah, that might happen. You know, because you can't control life. You can't. Everything's a possibility. Is it what we want to happen? No, it's not what we want to happen. It's not what we prefer. It's not what we focused on. You know, you're going to be very successful if you're able to know what your end result is, focus on that, take action. But you have to do it in a vulnerable way. Otherwise, you'll lock down and get stuck because, you know, and part of letting go and flowing is acknowledging what the worst that can happen is, and not wanting it to happen or just surrendering it to happen, not capitulating, but just acknowledging, yeah, that could happen, because anything can happen. Let's face it, anything can happen, right? Nothing's impossible, right? So when you allow possibilities, it's not the same as attracting them, wanting them. You know, the whole positive thinking movement goes, don't think that, don't think that, don't think that, don't think that. And that's where all your energy's going. You know, it's like, yeah, let that thought occur, let it exist, allow things to exist, but just know what you want and go. And you know, it really depends on this. I'm sorry to say, it actually does depend on you having an ability to go, yeah, that could happen. I want to go and talk to that chick at the bar there. You know, she could turn her nose up at me. Yeah, that could happen, but here we go.
I think so. Something you said there, because obviously David and I understand it quite well. It's the use of the word end result, and it it leads into the next question of mine, which is like, you know, what would you recommend for someone, you know, in terms of who's seeking success around dating, whether it's a relationship or otherwise? Because like, I think for a lot of people, they're used to the overthinking and they're used to that sort of side of things, but they're not used to actually having a focus on an end result that they would truly want.
Yeah, I mean, you see, one of the things that we teach and practice in creating and creative development is to be aware of what you want. You know, people of, you know, because of their thinking, they're very aware of what, you know, this possibility and that possibility and this contingency and that contingency and that. And you know, I was with a lawyer friend of mine the other day, and it didn't relate to dating, I'm sorry to say, but you know, he was talking about something he wanted to do, and this is a very qualified, intelligent, successful person, and they were talking about something they wanted to do, and that was what they wanted, right? And they were going, you know, I'd like to do this, but you know, then there's that, you know, and but but this person has offered to help me, but then there's there's this disadvantage, and then there's this positive, and then there's and I just had to stop them and just go, but what do you want? And they sort of looked up at me with this blank face, like, what? What do you want? It hadn't occurred to them, right? It's a
Mm.
very important thing to address. Is to be, you know, the most important thing to be aware of is, what do you want, and acknowledge that and intend it, because focus creates reality in many ways, but just certainly in a creative sense. Um, what you put your attention on, your mind starts to to work around, and develop a relationship to, and an interest to, and build pathways and inspirations regarding that thing. I mean, people always can relate to this when I mention this thing, because I'm very aware of it. If I've never heard of a word, and in the English language, in the English
Mm.
vocabulary, and I hear it, what I think is for the first time, because I've most probably heard it before or read it before. But when it comes into my focus, and there's this word I become aware of and understand its meaning, funnily enough, I just start seeing it everywhere, right? And that's how the mind works. Is like, when you direct your mental attention to something, it starts attracting relationships to that thing, and building around it, and building pathways to that, and insights relating to that, and inspirations relating to that. So it's very important, to know what you want, and like, dating is in that sense just no different to anything else that you create. You got to know, the very basics of creating is, the ability to know what. There's four steps, in my opinion. Is four very basic steps, and they're very easy to say, but it can take a while to master this. But
Mm.
the first step is to know what you want, right? The second step is to know where you are in all different kinds of ways, right? Um, like, let's say you want to go out on a date, and where are you? You don't know anyone. You don't have enough money to pay for a dinner. I don't know, just whatever circumstances you have. But also psychologically, is like, well, like, what do you fear that you don't want to
Mm.
happen? All those sort of things. So you go, well, that's what I want, but this is who I am, or feel like I am, and this is where I am. So where you want to be, where you are now, and then intend and choose where you want to be. Put that attention on that, where you want to be, like that word that you've just discovered in the English language. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then take action, right? And I mean, that this would apply to dating as much as well as anything else. It's just, like, we're human beings are creators. We create, and that applies to every, you know in aspect. That's the word, aspect. Every aspect of life, and certainly no less to dating.
Yeah, that's it's a fascinating point, and I want to take it back to something you said very early on about how so you have different levels of creation, like the ones that are mimicking and all the way up to genius. And what's interesting about what you're saying here is like the differences between, say, someone who's gone online and read a bunch of lines that he can say to impress a woman, to someone who's able to be original on the spot. And I know from obviously from the courses that I've studied with you and from reading your book, like something that you talk about a lot is actually the risk and reward factor of someone being original. Can you talk a bit into that?
Say that again. I don't get your point. Sorry.
Oh, when someone's original,
Yeah.
like say someone's really being original and an artist, a musician,
Yeah.
and they're creating original content, often the reward is higher.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah,
is.
so I'm just saying, yeah. Could you speak a bit into that, like what that's about? Because there's also a lot of men who they look to other men for advice, or they look online, and again, it's going back to this idea of
Well, that's the
um,
external reference.
becoming self-referential.
That again, that's the external reference, right?
Mm,
And you're right. You see, is that the higher the level of creativity, the higher the level of reward. And like let's just quickly take music, right? So if you get the like let's say the low level, the unskilled imitation, let's say kids, in a garage band in the parents' garage playing, and they, they're very obviously playing, other people's music and not very well, and then they get to skilled imitation, and maybe they play at school dances, and they're pretty good, and but they're playing other people's music and they're getting a few quid, and then they go up into the derivative levels and starting to get gigs around and maybe throwing in one or two of their own songs, but you can really hear what their influences are, and
mm,
really good tribute bands or something like that, and they're starting to make a living out of music, but not, I promise you, not much. I've read a lot of musician autobiographies, like the Rolling people from the Rolling Stones, members of the Rolling Stones, and Aerosmith and that, and you'll be very surprised how late into their careers they started making money.
oh, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, they make squillions, but it's very late into their careers. Like at a time you would have thought they're making big money, they're actually not.
Mm,
But then you get the musicians that have just left the pack behind. If you're a guitarist, you'll appreciate someone like Jimi Hendrix, or a pop musician like the Princes and the Michael Jacksons and that. They're just out there in a zone all of their own,
mm,
and the level of appreciation of how much people appreciate their music is astronomically higher, right? But also their level of reward, I guess, even as the reward for themselves making that kind of music, but certainly
mm,
financially and all of that. And so, at whatever level, and you can look at this in business, it just corresponds to everything. Is the higher the level of um, the higher your level of creativity, then the higher the level of your reward. And so if in dating, if you're a self-centered, self-possessed person, you are going to be astronomically more attractive to females, or I don't know what your sexual preference is, but whoever you're looking for, you're going to be astronomically more attractive, because you see what attracts people, what attracts people to anything, and to other people, is what creates charisma and energy, is self-possession, is a a person like who holds themselves as whole, right?
mm,
um and so if that's what you're doing, if you kind of have a sense of yourself, that you're okay, you're complete, which you can't have if you're looking outside of yourself, you see. But
mm.
when you have a sense of yourself is, well, I'm okay, I'm whole, I'm cool, no matter what. Even when I get knocked back, it doesn't mean anything, I'm still okay. I don't need every woman to like me and warm to me. I'm okay as I am, right?
Mm.
Um, you're going to be very attractive. I mean, think about it. Look, you're talking kind of to the wrong person, because I date, my dating days are kind of over, right? But I remember dating, and what I remember is when you had a girlfriend, even if she wasn't there with you, and you go to a bar you've never been in, you don't know anybody, but you're taken, and you stand there and you're like, oh, I'm taken, I'm cool, right? So fuck me, the women are flocking to you. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
when you've
yeah.
not got a girlfriend and you're sort of on the hunt and all that, they're avoiding you like a plague, you know. You know? So it sounds like you guys
Yeah,
can relate, right?
yeah.
So you see, what's the difference internally in you? They
Mm,
sense it, that you're complete, that you're whole. They're not necessarily sensing because they don't know you. They haven't even had a conversation with you. But they're going, that guy there, there's something internal in them that recognizes that guy there is complete. He's whole. And that's the sexiest thing in the world. That's the most attractive thing in the world, right? And that's what
mm,
thing. So you see, but again, that's kind of like a function of creativity, because of high level creativity, because you're self-possessed, you're self-contained, right? And you're okay, however it is. I mean, you see that's the biggest thing. I'm not saying that you have to feel confident and feel secure. You can have the insecurities and all of that going, but that can be
yeah.
okay. It's just like, hey, I'm okay. Things, like I'm okay. I'm out here. I'm having fun, and I'm okay no matter what. Right? I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And there are things that can happen that I'd rather not happen, and but they happen. That's But even if they happen, I'm okay. Right? And that's it. You see, like I know guys, right? And I know guys that go out and they get knocked back, and getting knocked back, like they just shrink into themselves and take it to
Mm,
mean all sorts of things, and that makes them withdraw and back off. And I've got other friends who get knocked back, and they'll still have a laugh with the lady, and
mm,
whatever, they're not that, like hung up about it. And they won't be mortally wounded by it. They'll take the knockback, and they'll even still give the woman good energy, because they're not desperately trying to attain something as a make or break, do or die thing.
mm.
Part of it is to hang out with women, and so if the woman is not sexually interested, and they still have some banter and all that, and they move on to the next one, and sooner or later they get lucky, right?
And
um
they don't take it personally if they get knocked back as well.
well, that's the whole point I'm making here. You see, it's,
Mm,
it's just like, well, that happens. Doesn't mean anything, David. You're right. It just
mm.
happens, right? Um,
I get there's a vulnerability to what you're saying. There's like basically back to that principle. It's like you're just so vulnerable to whatever, and you're actually okay with being vulnerable.
yeah, 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 and that's it. That's the
That's
point.
it. Yeah.
Being vulnerable to all possibilities, but being focused on the one that you really want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
obviously, with our experience, something I know very well is that, especially from the point of view that we're talking here, the creative, let's say how we would talk about it, the creative orientation in terms of it's like a different language or a different way of being, because I feel like in society often where we focus on goals and then we focus on what's wrong and then we try and fix what's wrong to get there. And I know obviously, I mean, I coached with you for a number of years, and I know David did as well.
Mm.
And I, actually, even in my time in coaching with you, perhaps one of the biggest insights I got around relationships was that until I was self-referential and doing what I love for myself, I was always going to look at a partner with disdain for loving an incomplete person. And that was a huge insight and breakthrough for me, because I just wouldn't have seen that.
Oh,
So thank you, William. Yeah.
yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
I mean, what you raise now maybe is the most important point of all, because I'm not a relationship coach, as you know,
Mm.
but gee,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God, I've helped a lot of people with a lot of relationships, and established great, you know,
Yeah.
relationships, of all kinds, and marriage, and the sort of ultimate kind of relationships. And it's the single most important thing that we find is, um, you know a person who can discover, who they are, what they want in life, like just to find your true nature and purpose in life, and fulfill that. You see, because how a lot of people treat things is there's certain areas of life, like money, and money's a big one, and a relationship, sort of locked down, set relationship, permanent and fixed relationship is another one. And it's like, well, when I get set in money, and when I get set in relationship, and it's like, then I'll have a life. And actually, I find it very much the other way around, to be honest. Is is find out what, like, who you are, what your purpose is, what gifts, talents, and abilities that support who you are and the expression of who you are, and get involved in that. That is the most important thing. Primarily, you came here to be that, and express that, and live that. Your primary purpose, although it's an important part of your life and will be a big aspect of your life, it's not the purpose of your life, right? It's not the point of your life, right? And so what I find is that people who do, connect with who they really are, what they're really about, and fulfill that as their primary objective in life, the, the other stuff comes much more naturally. There's two things, that I help people with, and they're struggling with either money or relationships. Health is another one to some extent, but mostly money and relationships. And that they're trying to work out how to have a relationship, how to make money. And I say to them, you got it the wrong way around. You know, get into your true nature and purpose. Get involved in that, lose yourself in that, and money and relationship will absolutely take care of itself. And it does. I mean, I've got the evidence. I've got the scores and scores of clients that turns out. And I'm talking of, like, I mean, not 2019 was an extraordinary year. Hey, a lot of my clients went from, you got to earn a bit of money to coach with me, because I'm not cheap, right? But I mean, relatively, these people were not making a lot of money at all, huh? And went from the level of income to astronomical levels of earning, and it was achieved by them, by me, supporting them and helping them in losing themselves in what I'm talking about now. And it's same. The money came, the relationships, everything follows that. So I mean, that's but it's almost like, I feel like that's another subject. But really, you know, um,
Yeah.
because if you want life success, then we're going to go into the territory I'm talking about now, right? Because if you, it's kind of like, you can work feverishly on all of these things, or you can just get on with your true nature and purpose in life, and all that other shit will just, follow, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And I think, and actually, I think that's a beautiful place to stop. I mean, like for me, the way I'd sum that up is like creativity is a structure, and what you just talked about there is the structure, is like focusing on what you would love to create, and everything else comes.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And I
Yeah.
could
Yeah,
definitely
because
say for
because
us,
I'll just finish by saying this also is I know from my experience, that is when I've been the most sexy to women. No, it is when
Yeah.
I just become, the creator that I am, and just lose myself in my passion, and whatever it is. It's like when I find that is, looking back, that is when I've been absolutely most attractive to women. And and I now see that with others. Is that is when they are the most attractive to money. Money loves them when they're that, and women love them. Or as I said, whatever your sexual preference is, it's that's how it works.
Yeah, it's one of the things we say a lot to guys we meet. They're like, oh, I want to meet a girl, blah, blah, blah. And we say to them, what's your passion in life? And they go, huh? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're like, look, find your passion. Like, it's there for you. It's obvious. It's what you're doing with yourself for nothing. It's what you love doing. Find that, and everything else in your life will start to fall into place because you're putting that energy into yourself, right? Into like referencing yourself,
and
then you start moving forward.
That's right. And then you'll be the equivalent of that guy at the bar who's got a girlfriend already.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thanks so much, William. That was amazing. You literally, again, you managed to cover multiple points. We didn't have to talk half as much as we normally do. Saved us some energy.
Yeah, well, you know me, huh?
Yeah.
So, where can the listeners find out about your work, your books, your coaching, and your courses?
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to mention that. I have a website, naturalsuccessacademy.com, naturalsuccessacademy.com, and that's a good place to go. You should recommend, I think you should recommend my book, The Magician's Way, to people that, that you coach and, share your insights and that too, because, that's a really great book for that, on that subject of that mindset of, being in the end result, and a lot of what we talked about, right? The sort of kind of, it's not like a heavy book. It's a very light book.
It's a great book. Dave and I both read it. It's amazing.
Great.
And it just helps so many people in so many areas of their lives, and it's just it covers kind of and conveys and explains the attitude to have in life in terms of creating what you want to go and what you want to go for, so I'd recommend everyone start with that one actually. Just thinking about what we've been talking about here, be a great one. But you can get all the details on naturalsuccessacademy.com.
Cool.
Yeah, I've given I've lent out the copy of your recent book, Secrets of Natural Success, to a few friends, and like it's been life changing for their businesses. Like they literally getting inspiration in the middle of the night after reading the book before going to bed and having to like get up and scribble it in a pad to go and then walk into a meeting and close deals. It's been amazing.
I know. It's since I've written and released that book, which hasn't been long. Is in 2019, and there's something about like the book and also the sort of level it took me on to personally, and that I pass on to clients now, is and that's what I was saying to you in 2019. My clients just have had just this phenomenal, extraordinary success, and it's a lot to do with that book and the sort of the sort of level, I give it to them to read, obviously, but it's brought me to a level as well. And I think it's my best book ever. But just I think just in terms of the conversation we've had here today, and based on that, what would I recommend out of my own work? It just comes to me to say, The Magician's Way is a no-brainer, huh?
Yeah.
But it's thanks for that feedback about the secrets. Great to hear.
Yeah, it's also all of William's books are great. Yeah. Well, thanks again, William. This was a great session. I really enjoyed speaking to you.
And thanks for having me as a guest, and thanks for the work you guys are doing in helping people be on their high creative level, and be on their high creative level, and in their whole selves, their whole and complete wonderful selves. We're all beautiful people, man, and we should all be attracting a mirror of that in our lives.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Thanks. All right.
I will. So perfect time to end.
Thanks, gentlemen.
It's been great having you.
Maybe I'll see you in London, eh?
Yeah. We'll have a little drink.
We'll have a Corona, huh?
Definitely. Other beers are available.
The Corona's going very cheap, huh?
By the bucket load.
Yeah. It's a good time to buy a cruise now. All right, guys.
Great.
Lots of love to you, huh?
Cool, man. Thanks, William.
Ciao.
All right, ciao, man.
Well, that was a great episode. Thanks so much to William Whitecloud for being so generous and giving such deep insights to the creative principles, which I feel is something that a lot of men overlook, because I really believe like creativity is a structure, and in life we kind of tend to go around like we blindly don't know what we're doing. So it's wonderful to hear that from him. So yeah, just to finish off here, then I think we just want to leave you with our usual contacts and links. So to reach us, the best place really is to find us on Instagram. It's at Authentic Dating Series, and David's nodding his head because he agrees. It's the best place to reach us. Yeah, we're the most active there. You can email us, but it's boring. Go on Instagram, you can see pictures. It's better.
And even videos.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. But also, if you want to find out more information about events that we're doing, or our coaching programs, then go to www.authenticdatingseries.com, and all the information is now live on our website.
Yeah, and we look forward to you sharing about our episode and telling your friends and family and your lovers. And yeah, we look forward to seeing it on Instagram when you share. Make sure you tag us when you do, because it's always nice to hear what people think of the episodes, and we sustain ourselves on the validation that we get. Otherwise, we go hungry and die. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.